2025 is already off to a pretty great start for video games, and we have a lot of good-looking video games on the horizon. And today, I'm going to talk about a lot of those upcoming video games, specifically from the first half or so of the year that you can either look forward to or not. At least they're going to be notable. And at least for this first part of the video, all of these games that we're going to talk about are things that I intend to cover on the channel, either with traditional reviews or other more essay-style videos. So subscribe. Also, by the way, hi, I'm Mug, and if you're new here, welcome. And if you're not new here, welcome back. We're going to take a look at some of the biggest upcoming releases, as well as my take on them. If you want to skip anything, you have the timestamps down below, along with the release date of all of these games and stuff like that. In the second part, shorter part of the video, I'm also going to look at some indie games that I am particularly excited for that I will hopefully have time to make some videos on as well. With that out of the way, there's a lot to dive into, a lot to get excited for. Let's jump into it. Now, starting off here in February, I already have to break my rule because this is a game I don't intend to cover, but it is important to note that Civilization 7 is coming out and people are excited for it. Now, before Civilization 7, we actually have Kingdome Come Deliverance 2. And KCD 2 is a medieval role-playing game in which there's a very strong focus on immersion, a very tactile sort of game. The first one already was, and it seems like the second one is just more of that, which if you enjoyed the first one, you'll probably enjoy the second one. And if you didn't like the first one, I would be cautious with the second one, but a lot of people like that first one. The team over at Warhorse is promising a bigger world with more mechanics, more immersion, reworked combat, and just the general things you would expect of a sequel, of making everything just a bit better. And coming from a game that was already incredibly ambitious and trying to tackle a lot of stuff, this seems like the RPG adventure that I want to sink into right now, to inhabit the protagonist Henry and live my medieval life with systems that you rarely see in RPGs these days, including things like your wardrobe mattering in how people treat you, your hygiene and cleanliness impacting some of the reactions, and promising different ways to reach different outcomes depending on your choices and how you actually roleplay in the game. Kingdome Come Deliverance 2 is looking fantastic and will release on PS5, Xbox, and PC on the 4th of February. Moving forward to February 18th, we have Avowed. I think the easiest way to describe Avowed is that it is to the Elder Scrolls what the Outer Worlds was to Fallout. Obsidian's take on the Bethesda-style RPG, but with limitations. In the case of Avowed, very similarly to the Outer Worlds, it is a semi-linear game, in the sense that there are specific areas and you can roam around them and do different things in them, but it's not a truly open world to explore. You progress through the story, through the different zones, and then there are side quests and different opportunities available in each of those. I guess, in a sense, that's kind of Baldur's Gate 3 if you want to look at it that way. Avowed, however, compared to the Outer Worlds, hopefully, because I'm one of those that has a mixed opinion on the Outer Worlds, and compared to the Elder Scrolls, is trying to do its own thing. Importantly, it's set in the Pillars of Eternity universe, so if you're a fan of those games, that's something to look forward to. But especially when it comes to overall movement, to combat, to just general feedback, seems to be trying very hard to offer an actually interesting movement, exploration, and combat system that at least is something different for this type of genre. And in this age, the rise of Scrolls-likes, I'm very excited for anybody having a different take on it. Now, like a lot of games on this list, it has found itself in a little bit of a kerfuffle due to the comments of one of the employees at the company, and I will keep saying that I'm here to review video games, even if I criticize people for their awful takes. So, and as a huge Bethesda fan, I just want to see what these guys have done, and hopefully it's good. It is worth mentioning that the marketing so far hasn't really been ramping up. Instead, it feels like it's been ramping down. And I do worry if that is a reflection on Xbox or Obsidian's expectations for the game, but you know how I am. I'm always hoping for games to be good. I'll be optimistic until the day I put my hands on it, and then if I have to say bad stuff, I will. So no matter what, I will be talking about Avowed. Looking forward to playing it. On February 21st, one of the more exciting games, and maybe one that I won't have time to really play through, but I do want to check out no matter what, is Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. From the hand of RGG, the people behind Like a Dragon, comes another spin-off that now takes place in their new updated map of Hawaii that they premiered for Infinite Wealth last year. It repurposes one of the main characters of the story, Goro Majima, gives him amnesia, and turns him into a pirate in what seems to be a strange fusion of a little bit of Devil May Cry, a little bit of Dynasty Warriors, a little bit of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag with a lot of ship combat and customization and general exploration, and all of the Yakuza wackiness. Game looks like a ton of fun, and if you're completely new to the series, this seems like a decent place to start considering it's a story about amnesia with no real prior knowledge required. I am finally at the moment making my way through Infinite Wealth, which I had not done before, didn't have the chance. I don't have a lot of free time between day job and doing YouTube videos and life, but I am enjoying Infinite Wealth immensely because I'm a really big Yakuza fan. I also had a bit of a grudge against Infinite Wealth because they didn't offer people the New Game Plus option unless you bought the Deluxe Edition, and there was also no upgrade to the Deluxe Edition if you bought the normal one. So if you didn't do it from the start, you just didn't get New Game Plus. But RGG seems to have acknowledged this since they mentioned in their overview trailer that New Game Plus will be available in a later update for everyone, and they emphasize the word a lot. So I guess they're realizing some of their mistakes in what they decide to microtransaction in or out. So also, I can't be mad at Yakuza for too long because I just like it too much, and this game looks really fun. February 28th is the heaviest hitter of probably the year for me, which is Monster Hunter Wilds. If you're not the type of person that enjoys Monster Hunter, you should be, or we just can't be friends anymore. Monster Hunter Wilds is the big next-gen, generational jump for the Monster Hunter series, a series that I have been playing for an incredibly long time, and that I love incredibly dearly, and that I've covered many times on the channel before and done essays on and all sorts of stuff, because Monster Hunter is just awesome. And having played the recent demo and the upcoming beta test, hopefully will reconfirm my feelings. Wilds feels exactly like what I want from the series in the continuation of both World and Rise. I will be playing a lot of Monster Hunter Wilds, and I will have a lot to say about it. I am sure of that. If something was going to break my Marvel Rivals addiction, it's this. Moving on to March, we have Split Fiction on the 6th of March. This is the next game from Joseph Fares and his team, responsible for A Way Out and It Takes Two. It Takes Two is a game that I enjoyed immensely. I thought it was crazy creative and just overall fun, and it particularly resonated with me because it was one of the first games that I played with my girlfriend. She also enjoyed it a ton, and she was actually the one to approach me and say that we need to save that weekend to play Split Fiction, which made me very happy since she doesn't normally like video games, and I don't like pushing people into doing stuff they don't like. But that does mean I will be playing this on release day, and I have huge expectations for what the team over there is cooking, and I'm expecting Split Fiction to be really good. I'm also a big fan of Joseph Fares. Every time they invite him to an event, he is just the right amount of inappropriate in your face and telling it like it is. Just gotta admire somebody willing to do that stuff. Him and Sven Vink, good people. Anyway, Split Fiction is once again a co-op platformer, follows the same structure as It Takes Two, where only one of the players needs to own the game in order to play it co-op online. And this time around, we will be switching between science fiction and fantasy in an interesting story about dreams and writing ideas being stolen and combined from people. I'm just expecting a ton of cool, creative ideas in a non-stop romp of good times. March 12th will see the Steam release of A Rise of the Ronin, the previously PS5 exclusive open world ninja samurai game from Koei Tecmo and a lot of the team responsible for things like Wolong and Nioh. I didn't play it on PS5 despite having a PS5. I think something else came out like at the same time last year, but given the fact that the very next week we have Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out, I'm very excited to try out Rise of the Ronin on PC and give it a shot. Some of the critiques around Rise of the Ronin were specifically that it didn't look very good, and some people didn't like that, but a lot of the people who played it said it was really damn good. I'm hoping that its arrival to PC, a much wider market, will have it see some success and also maybe fix some of those graphical issues that people had with it, if you want to call them that. Really excited to jump into it, give it a try for a double session of Japanese ninja samurai stuff. That's because on March 20th, we have Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is Ubisoft's last chance, essentially, to not lose their company. Doesn't matter if they're working on Far Cry 7. I don't think there's gonna be time to release that unless this game performs. Previews so far have been lukewarm, tepid, a lot of concern saying that the series hasn't really evolved, and a lot of strange design decisions in a game that definitely has had a bit of a troubled development cycle given the turmoil within Ubisoft and the 2 delays it's had so far. None of that has stopped it from reaching a top seller state in many different countries and PSN overall after the recent previews, because Assassin's Creed is still massive. And as a huge Assassin's Creed fan, it's one of the reasons I'm excited for the Yakuza, because Assassin's Creed 4 was great. I also like Syndicate a lot. I also have changed my opinion on Unity, although maybe 2 is still the best one. Brotherhood is underrated, I'm just gonna say it. Anyways, as a big Assassin's Creed fan, I'm looking forward to see what they do and if this really is a generational jump from the RPG trilogy that we had of Assassin's Creed games, or if this is just a side grade that falls into the same problems. Also, it's been a fire of controversy and all sorts of things just raging from the start that I haven't touched and I don't intend to touch with a 10-foot pole until I actually play the game, so that I can pinpoint things that I like or do not like about certain creative choices, let's put it that way. And I'm talking aside from the whole Ubisoft being, you know, Ubisoft and all of the mistakes that they have made and how angry people are at them. Also releasing March 20th, and a game that I think matters, is Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition on Nintendo Switch. This new Nintendo Switch release of the game on stronger hardware, and hopefully, if the Switch 2 comes anytime soon, I'm sure that it'll get a sort of update to run better and look better, and just especially run better on that. Xenoblade Chronicles X is a fantastic game, and I love Xenoblade with a passion. Very excited to jump into it again. Just one of the best RPG series ever made. If you are not familiar with Xenoblade, this is a cool one to jump into, especially if you like mechs. On March 27th, just a week later, we have both Atomfall and the first Berserker Khazan. Atomfall is that new Fallout-like RPG from Rebellion, the people who make the Sniper Elite series, which just had its new release right now. Curious, interesting, for those of you who know me for a lot of my Bethesda coverage, for example, you probably know that I really, really like Fallout, more so than Elder Scrolls. So anybody taking on that general concept of post-apocalyptic RPG open world kind of tongue-in-cheek humor, that's gonna get my attention. I am incredibly excited to see what they're doing. It's been flying under the radar a bit so far, but I've got my eye on it. The first Berserker Khazan already has a video up on the channel after I played through the demo, and it feels like an interesting combination of action games, something like Ninja Gaiden, and just a Souls-like. Just the bonfires and the shortcuts and the you know how Souls-likes are. It looks cool, it looks fun, it looks like a game that I'm very much willing to just dive into and marathon and hopefully come out with an opinion. We move into April, where there's currently only 2 major releases to take note of, and those are South of Midnight on the 8th of April and Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which is coming out on the 24th. South of Midnight is the latest game by Compulsion Games and published under Microsoft, of course, therefore only on PC and Xbox. A budget title, which I'm hoping means like a 12-hour kind of linear story with good platforming and decent action in a claymation style that takes on the legends of the American South. I said it recently in a video that the overall vibe I get from this game, at least in its structure, is that it's kind of like Sly Cooper with bratty teen protagonist. Some of that bratty teen protagonist energy might not be for me, but the general idea that every level has its own unique soundtrack and that it's all focused in that level on one specific big baddie and their legend and their lore is where I get that kind of Sly Cooper structure from. And overall, it doesn't look amazing to me, except, you know, having a unique art style does help. but when it comes to combat and platforming, it kind of looks perfectly okay. I'm wondering if it will go beyond that or simply be an enjoyable romp or fail and not be that enjoyable. But no matter what, I will be giving it a try. On April 24th, however, Clair Obscur is the upcoming French JRPG with a mixture of turn-based and real-time combat elements. Think something like Mario and Luigi RPGs. I don't know why that's the best example I have for it, but yeah, you know, time your buttons correctly to parry, to block, to execute certain moves. A striking art style, a very unique premise, some grade A voice acting talent, and a world that seems to be begging to be explored, especially from its world map. As many of you know, I am an RPG guy, be that Western RPGs or Japanese RPGs, and I think that this is my favorite style of Japanese RPG. This kind of turn-based with some real-time elements sort of thing is really my jam, and I am incredibly excited for Clair Obscur. Every time that we see it, it looks better. High hopes for this one when it releases on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. The final confirmed release touches on May, and that is, of course, Doom: The Dark Ages, the next step in the, I guess, new trilogy of Doom games, which, according to their own marketing, has been moving from run and gun to jump and shoot and now stand and fight, incorporating melee weapons, a shield, and a lot of different mechanics from parrying, blocking, countering, and melee combos and executions that keep the glory kills that define this new trilogy of Doom games, but with a lot more freedom and speed, as well as a lot more emphasis on bigger open maps and battlefields that you can explore and find side content in. Maybe a little bit of God of War influence going on there in the semi-open world feeling of these already previously really big levels now getting even bigger. Doom: The Dark Ages seems to be promising a lot, but most importantly, a good old-fashioned first-person shooter campaign of epic proportions, which we don't get too much of, and that is enough for me to be very excited. And bonus round, here are some of my most anticipated upcoming indie games that I am, you know, just looking forward to, hopefully looking to play. Starting off with Cairn, one of my most anticipated games of this year, already covered on the channel. This seems to be a mixture of Death Stranding, crafting survival, but mostly just climbing, making your way through a really treacherous climbing mountain in what seems to be a story-centric way, which is always really exciting to me. I love climbing mechanics in games. It's just a really interesting unexplored thing. Mouse PI, Detective for Hire, is that golden era Disney-looking first-person shooter that looks amazing and might just be really good as a shooter too. Slay the Spire 2 is intended to come out at some point during this year, and I'm hoping that it's not just a crazy shadow drop that ruins my schedule for the next 3 weeks. Wheel World is the new game from the Nidhogg creator Messoff, and it's about riding a bicycle and finding ghost bikes that are riding between the world of the living and the dead in what is a semi-open world. Absolutely crazy concept that looks really cool, very stylish, and I'm excited to check it out whenever it comes out. And of course, we can never stop hoping for Hollow Knight Silksong. Of course, things can change. I'm still keeping a close eye on Elden Ring Night Ring, whenever that's going to come out, for example. And I will probably try and do one of these videos more focused directly on indie games, even if I've just played them for a little bit. I know the upcoming Steam Next Fest might be a good opportunity to check some stuff out and highlight them. There are literally so many great games coming out from the indie scene that it's difficult to track them, but I think these are some of the bigger ones that I am really keeping an eye on. But I've got a pretty crazy wish list. That's how I kind of organize a lot of this stuff. Now, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, I just wanted to say, especially if you're, you know, one of the wonderful patrons up on the $1 patron wall, or if you're a fan of the channel, that content for all of this is guaranteed to a certain point, but not at a timely fashion. Not because of me. I really do try my best to keep up on a lot of stuff and also work on a lot of the bigger projects that have been in the works for a while. I kind of messed up on some of that stuff. That From Software retrospective, there's 20 games fully recorded and scripted for it, but I don't know how to release it yet. And also, I'm incredibly frugal with my money. I try and never spend money, and I don't want to buy an Xbox just to play the backwards compatible games like Otogi 1 and 2, but I'm going to have to. So there is a lot going on behind the scenes, but the important thing here is that I don't know if I will get review codes for any of these games. So you might hear me talk about them before release, just kind of informing people, which I've done before. And my reviews or my essays on them might be late because I'll just be playing them with you guys on release day. I think that in my short time on YouTube, I've already established myself as a person who takes no nonsense when it comes to developers and publishers and maybe some other conditions around gaining review access, kind of the quid pro quo and access journalism that goes around. And I've also focused a lot on my integrity as a journalist/reviewer of simply taking the game as it is, even if I do talk about the controversy surrounding games, the criticism of them, of the people, some of the circumstantial stuff, and a lot of the business stuff regarding some of the companies and their decisions or how they treat employees and things like that. At the end of the day, I will talk about the game fairly. That is my goal, at least fairly from my perspective as a human with opinions on whether I like it or not, and hopefully with a good side of just informative stuff, looking out for people that might enjoy a game even when I don't. And I don't think that that attitude or that sort of gamble for a lot of different studios is worth sending out review codes and things like that to me. I'm not on that list, or potentially even on a blacklist for some of the comments I've made towards them. But thankfully, I already have a pretty great community here that I think understands my perspective on games and what my approach to them is, and are happy to view my opinions and my takes on things even if they are late, which is honestly like the greatest thing in the world, and I thank you for it. All of this is to say that if you care about my opinion for some reason on your purchasing decision, for a lot of these games you are probably going to have to wait a little bit, but I will do my best to get my opinion out there if it is valuable for you in knowing where to spend your money and your time. Overall though, I would say gaming is looking very interesting at the very minimum this year, but also very good in my personal opinion. There's always going to be a ton of great indie games to play, and there's just a ton of other bigger releases to play that might be good, might be amazing, might flop, but there's a lot going on in the industry at the moment and a lot of changes. And you already know, if you want more from me, remember to subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, found it informative, found it entertaining. I've been Mug, and as always, go out there, enjoy some great video games, and I'll see you again very soon.